Oh, okay. That's cool. Okay, now we're going to go live. Oh, we are
We
live.
are live. I think we are live.
Hello, Crystal. How are you?
I
We are
am
live.
fine. We are live. I'm well.
Good deal. Well, always a pleasure to see you. But we do have an interesting plan to talk, or interesting um, topic to discuss today, and that is terminating a plan. And, I'm usually more about getting the plan going and telling people how to work the plan. But as you can imagine, in our turbulent times, there are plans that are shutting down, or there are businesses that are shutting down and have plans. So I figured perhaps we ought to talk about that.
hmm
So here's what I'll do. I'll read your bio, and then we can jump right in, and I'll let you have the closing comments. But how's that sound?
Sounds fantastic.
Cool. So here we go. Hello, everyone. Please help me welcome my friend and colleague, Crystal Mitchell. She is a business coach and consultant. She's the CEO of Mitchell Business Solutions, co-director of Recycling Black Dollars. Crystal is also the co-host of The Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert, a weekly online radio show. She's an instructor at Mount San Antonio Community College, a certified network for teaching entrepreneurship instructor, and a QuickBooks Pro Advisor financial strategist. Hey, Crystal, how you doing?
Hello, everyone. Glad to be here.
Good deal. Glad to have you. Alrighty, so let's jump in. My screen is doing interesting things over here on the right, so pardon me if I get swayed over there. But so as I was saying in the beginning, let's talk about how does a business owner get out of the plan, and that could be for any number of reasons. You know, the owner decides to retire, they their business dries up, or what have you. It doesn't really matter. Most times, business owners think that the plan is tied to, or that is the retirement plan, is tied to the business. It is not. All of the funds inside the retirement plan are actually tied to the participants.
Mm,
So the business owner has an obligation to shepherd the plan through its demise,
hmm
and the participants have the right to take that money and move it into an IRA or into another plan, or take it as cash and pay the taxes on it. So
Okay.
the most important thing is that the business owner doesn't want to just leave it there and let it fester, because that becomes expensive. As the plan is still going, so you're still paying the fees. Um,
Right.
have you ever had an experience like that?
Yeah. I had a client that or actually, I think I worked for that person. Yeah, that kind of happened to us. We were closing. We had no
Hmm.
choice but to close because we had run out of money.
Yeah.
And and of course, but they had the payouts and so forth.
Uh huh. All right. So
And
let's go ahead.
another one that is kind of interesting, that I've seen occur, companies that find themselves with a big gaping red hole in their finances, and of course they have to start to because they start losing contracts, and they had to start reducing the their staff,
Uh huh.
and but before they obviously could do that, they had to pay out uh, pension plans and back pay and all kinds of
Mm-hmm.
things. So
Yep.
it just took them such a while. Eventually, what they had to do was sell the building, was because there were a lot, and then people were so people were retiring, people were being laid off, and people were then you had just a minimum staff, and then some of the and the people that were still there had to take cuts in salary.
Oh wow, that was
Yeah,
that's pretty dramatic.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they had to pay out the ones that were retiring so that they could move their money wherever they wanted. The ones that they'd kind of given an opportunity to retire, and then you had the ones that they laid off that
Mm.
were definitely vested, and then you had the employees that had their salaries cut or
Oh
reduced
my goodness.
until they were able to regroup. And so the only way they could regroup was actually to sell the building.
Wow, that's hardcore. I don't think I've ever been involved in a plan where they had to actually sell assets in order to fulfill their obligations to the retirement plan. But
Yeah.
it's a great story because it can happen. It does happen, and you don't want that to be you. You don't want to be that guy, right?
Right.
So I've got a couple of notes, and the first one is a little bit different, and that is when it comes to terminating the plan, you have to terminate the plan. You got to go through the paperwork. The best thing is to work with your third-party administrator. Let them start filing the paperwork for you. You've got to have some type of resolution in writing that says you're terminating the plan. You can't be willy-nilly. And then, of course, you got to distribute the assets and fill out the final 5,500. Now, distributing the assets is great for the employees in a way. They're losing their job, but they can roll those assets into an IRA. They can roll those assets into an IRA and then take a distribution from them, or roll the assets into an IRA and roll that IRA into another 401k, that their new job's 401k. Some new job 401ks will allow you to roll your assets in before you're eligible to contribute to the plan. Not all of them, but sometimes they will, and that just makes the paperwork a little bit easier.
Okay.
So if you can do that, that's a great idea. It's not common, but it's not uncommon. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
But I do want to go back to the business owner because they've got the real weight on their shoulders. And the first thing to bring our attention to is they have to distribute the assets, right? I'm working with a plan now where they weren't able to get the status of the employees hooked up so that the payroll company and that the 401k company could determine how much money to send to the employees. In this case, the employees actually got, they were all 100% vested for the most part. So
Okay.
that update needed to be made to the records of the employees. And that doesn't happen all the time. But the owners of the organization decided they would update all of the employees to be 100% vested in the owner's contributions, which was very nice of them. I think though that they didn't realize how expensive that was going to be because they probably only thought it was going to be for a certain group of employees, but it ended up being for all the employees right now.
Ooh, wow. Wow.
So it took them aback just a little bit. So they have to distribute all the assets, and that gets people a little while because sometimes people who are still in the plan aren't at work in the plan, and they haven't taken their last little bit out of the plan, right? So they may have $100 in the plan, and now you have to figure out a way to send that $100 or $1,000 to them, right? And they may not want to be found, which makes your job really, really tough. So if you're a business owner, make sure if you're deciding to retire and you're going to sell your business and you're not going to keep that 401k plan in place, make sure you distribute all the assets.
So as they're making the decision they know they're exiting in some shape or form. So are they then having a conversation with their plan administrator to say, hey, these are my plans, and before it's even announced to the employee, this is what I want to do. What does this look like, kind of thing?
I would say most definitely.
Okay.
So a scenario that comes to my mind is that, let's say, like in the case of this employee or this employer, you want to make sure that everybody's working for you from day X, right? 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it is. Everyone that's working for you has their contributions made by the employer 100% vested. You just change the vesting status to 100% vested. Well, that's great, right? That's awesome. If you don't make the cut, that doesn't make it so cool. But you need to talk that over with your third-party administrator and your record keeper, because there's going to be money left over that's supposed to go to those employees that doesn't go to them if your record keeper doesn't know that they are now 100% vested. Does that make sense? Yeah. So you definitely want to do this with your partners, with your TPA, with your record keeper, and bring your advisor in the mix as well too, just because they've seen that a lot of times and they can ask the right questions for you.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is number one. We ought to terminate the plan. We have to stop the contributions and in many cases fully vest the employees if they aren't fully vested.
Okay.
The next thing we have to do is distribute the assets. And the next thing we want to do is the point that I wanted to talk with you about. And that is, you got to notify the employees. You got to notify the participants. You got to tell them, hey, we're shutting the plan down on X or Y, X date. And here are your options. You have to do that.
Okay.
Because the last thing in the world you want to do is scare people into thinking that, oh, I used to work for this company and they shut down and ran off with all the money, because the money actually belongs to the participants. It's not your money. It's not the plan money. It's the money of the participants.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And then lastly, and this is probably my favorite part, is when you are talking about this, make sure you bring in your partners early. I can't tell you how good it is to get this information early and start going through the checklists and procedures, tweaking them so that they meet the needs of your particular organization, and not having to do that in a rush state because you didn't let them know that you were closing your business. You figured that, well, the business is gone, so why do I need to talk about the retirement plan? And I'm dealing with a situation now where they're saying that exact thing. There's no business left. Well, there's still a plan, and that plan needs to be dealt with. And since you, the plan sponsor, are fiduciarily bound to the plan, that is, if it goes sideways, the money has to come from you, the plan sponsor. There's some penalties, there's some monetary compulsion to you, the plan sponsor, all the plan sponsors. You want to make sure you get this right, because you don't want that, as one of my friends said, just hanging around. Just hanging around until it gets dealt with. Closing the business is not dealing with it.
Okay. And if they were, let's say they were selling their business, they would have to deal with it anyway, because if they were not, they were doing an exit strategy versus it's got to be shut down because we have no more money and we have no more business. So
yes, you have no more business. Yeah.
Right. But somebody could still want to buy it if they had, a pretty lucrative, there's some sort of what do you call it? Intellectual properties there.
Very true. Very true. And you're making an excellent point. The other example I would add to that is, let's say one company buys another company. So now you have the 401k from company A that can absorb the 401k from company B, the one that is being sold, right? And so now those assets come over to company A, let's say, and now company A has just increased their assets. That's great. We still need to let the participants know at company B that their assets are going to be transferred over, or they can take those assets with them and do what they want with them during the transition. But whatever that plan is, the participants need to know what's going on so they can make changes accordingly.
Okay.
They need to have that choice.
Okay.
So, yeah, so that's the exciting world of plan demise, as it were.
And we are in such a turbulent place. I imagine there's going to be far more of that going on.
I can imagine it as well, although you have to like the resilience of the American businessman, I think. It is a group of people that consistently find a way to beat the odds. So I have faith in the American economy. I think we're stronger than we think we are.
Yeah, I just think that there's some shifting, especially if you labor wise, and your labor has been coming from whether they're documented or undocumented employees.
Mm-hmm.
Without those people, without the workers, then the work is not getting done.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
if that becomes a real problem when the plan gets shut down, if you have workers who have falsified their working information, they
Mm-hmm.
have a they've contributed a little bit to the 401k just to make themselves look like they're actual employees, uh,
Mm.
but they're not. And maybe they use the false social security number to get by the quote unquote check person with regard to
Mm-hmm.
the background
Mm-hmm.
person. And so now the plan shuts down and there's nowhere to send that money.
Yeah.
The social security number is not true. Now you have a problem
Yeah.
as a business owner. Now you've got issues that you got to deal with there. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Complex places we are in right now.
Complex is a good word. Okay. So, most importantly, I would say uh, terminate the plan. Go through the motion of doing that. Set a resolution, distribute the assets, tell the participants, and I'll leave it to you for the last word.
Okay. Yes. So I think, everyone just needs to be a little bit more hyper vigilant, I guess, in making sure that everything that is supposed to be done in business is done. I just don't think this is the time that we can be missing things. And I think it also takes, if the more on top of everything you are, the less frightening it is. So you kind of have to face forward on
Uh-huh.
things so that you know exactly what's ahead of you, so you can take care of it.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better than that. You're exactly right. Got to know what's staring at you, what's coming at you, so you can take care of it and not worry about it. Well,
Right.
that
Right.
is our topic for the show today, Crystal.
Okay.
Thanks for joining me. Was there something you wanted to talk about next Monday?
No, we're gonna leave that up to you.
Okay. Okay. There you go. All righty. Well, as always, it was a pleasure chatting with you and being on the broadcast with you. And we'll say goodbye to all of our friends out there. And thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week on Conversations on the Patio.
All right, everyone, have a great one. Be safe out there.